I am Lena Whitlow, 36 years old. I used to believe that if I kept everything calm, never asked for much, and stayed ready, then someday they'd realize I'd always been here, still part of the family. But then the guest list arrived. An Excel sheet color-coded every name accounted for except mine. No oversight, no mistake, just a name that was never typed. My mother texted, "We're keeping it simple. Fewer names, less confusion." And I understood sometimes people don't forget you. They just stop pretending you're worth remembering. I've learned the sharpest cuts don't bleed. They sit inside you neat and labeled like cells on a spreadsheet. The email wasn't addressed to me. Marianne Jennings, my mother's bridge partner, forwarded it with a smiling emoji and the line, "Looks like the big day is coming. Hope you're packing a dress." There was an attachment. Guest list, final V4 XLSX. I opened it on my old laptop. Rows of names organized by relation and role. Yellow for immediate family, green for wedding party, gray for non-attending but acknowledged. My father's name. My mother's. Logan, of course, bolded and underlined. Evelyn's name sat directly beneath his sister of the groom. There was no Lena Whitlow. Not in any column, not in any tab, not even in the maybe section near the bottom. I stared at the screen, letting my finger rest on the trackpad without scrolling. My name didn't disappear. It was never typed. The text from my mother came 15 minutes later. No greeting. "We're keeping it simple this time. Less confusion, fewer names. Fewer names." I leaned back in the chair and felt the old indent of the cushion catch my spine. My phone buzzed again. Marianne this time. "Can't wait to see you there. I'll save you a seat beside the cake table." I didn't reply. I didn't move. There's a screenshot saved on my desktop from the last family Zoom during Logan's birthday. Everyone's face frozen mid-laugh, except mine. I'd dropped out halfway through when my connection failed, and no one had noticed. The box that said Lena W. had just gone black. That was 6 months ago. No follow-up call. No one asked if I'd made it back in. I opened my messages, typed "I saw the list," deleted it, then typed "I won't come," deleted that, too. Not because I couldn't say it, because it wouldn't land anywhere. I closed the laptop, set the phone face down. It's strange how clarity doesn't always come from confrontation. Sometimes it arrives as silence, as color-coded confirmation. I wasn't excluded by accident. They'd simply stopped pretending I was still part of the picture. I used to believe that if I made it easier for them, they'd make room for me. There was a time I drove 6 hours on a weekend just to bring homemade cranberry bread for Thanksgiving. It sat untouched next to the catered tray of rolls from the grocery store. "You shouldn't have," my mother said, placing it at the far end of the counter. Not dismissively. Just away. I hung the coats, set the table, refolded napkins that no one noticed were wrinkled. Once during winter break my junior year, I stayed up until 2 in the morning, making Christmas cards on heavy ivory cardstock she'd mentioned. She missed how people used to send real ones. I laid them out on the kitchen island for her to sign. She flipped through them quickly, tapping a chipped nail against the corner of one. "These are a little stark. Evelyn's had gold foil last year. I never made them again. They cancelled dinner on my birthday once Logan had a flight to catch. I'd already made reservations. I told no one. The confirmation email just sat in my inbox with the subject line, "See you at 7. When Logan needed help organizing files for a loan application, I cleared 3 nights. "You're better with documents," was all I got. I scanned, sorted, formatted, The banker shook his hand the next morning and told him impressive preparation. No one asked who typed it. I used to leave small notes in the guest room when I visited. A reminder to refill the water pitcher. A list of favourite tea bags I'd bought. Once I left a folded throw blanket at the foot of the bed, navy wool soft just the right weight. A week later, I saw it draped over the armchair in the living room. When I touched it, there was a faint smell of cologne that wasn't mine. Oh, my mother said Logan gets cold sometimes when he watches TV. There's a photo on their wall, gold frame, careful lighting. My mother centered one hand on Logan's shoulder, Evelyn off to the side smiling like she belongs. I took that picture. They didn't hang any with me in them, only the ones I made possible. Some people rebel to be seen. I tried folding in, softening my edges, offering silence like a gift. All it taught me was how to vanish politely. Some memories don't fade, they sharpen. There was a silver cup, once no taller than a salt shaker. My name engraved in shallow script, beneath the words, State Essay Competition, 2nd place. I found it years later, tucked behind the cinnamon and baking soda, beside a tin of expired paprika. My mother reached past it for the vanilla. It didn't match the living room, she said, but I didn't want to throw it away. I didn't ask who made that decision. The year Logan finished his undergrad, we had dinner at a steakhouse with cloth napkins and a fireplace on the wall. I wore a navy sweater with a stitched neckline I'd mended myself. That same spring, I'd been published in a national literary journal. I placed the copy gently on the edge of the table beside the breadbasket. My father glanced at the cover. Logan just got invited to apply for graduate fellowships. No one opened the journal. There was a birthday card with my name misspelled. 2 letters off, printed in gold. We were in a rush, my mother said, handing it to me without looking up from her phone. I remember a night when I called her after accepting a job offer. It was a position I'd worked toward for nearly 2 years, long hours. Freelance contracts, the kind of tired that settles in your joints. She paused. Oh, you're still doing that tech thing. I stopped mentioning work after that. Once during dinner, I began telling a story. Something small, something harmless. A woman on the subway with a bag full of wind chimes. The table was quiet, just forks and chewing. I got halfway through a sentence before my mother turned. Logan, did you confirm your suit fitting for the fundraiser? No one returned to the wind chimes. I used to watch people's faces when I spoke, a habit I hadn't noticed until it started hurting. Sometimes I'd trace the rim of my glass just to have something to do with my hands. Sometimes I'd nod along to conversations I wasn't in. There's a family photo framed near the hallway of their house. I remember taking it kneeling on the stone path, adjusting the focus while everyone shifted and blinked. My mother asked me to crop the edge of the porch, said it looked cluttered. I never printed the version with me in it. No one asked for that one. Sometimes it's not what they forget. It's what they remember instead. There's a difference between being overlooked and being edited out. The envelope arrived without a return address, tucked inside a larger package of garden magazines from Grandma Maggie. She'd underlined a tomato variety on page 14 and circled a patio layout she said felt like me. Tucked between the pages was a folded sheet of glossy paper. The engagement announcement for Logan and Lauren. Full color. Heavy cardstock. Gold serif letters. At the bottom, a note designed by Susan Whitlow. On the back, beneath a watercolor sketch of the venue, was a section titled Meet the Family. Logan Whitmore, son of Walter and Susan, brother of Evelyn Whitlow, software engineer and lifelong supporter. I don't have a sister. Evelyn was Susan's stepdaughter from a brief second marriage. We overlapped for 2 years, once shared a bathroom, and spoke politely at Thanksgiving. The last I heard, she lived in Vermont and taught yoga part-time. I turned the paper over and ran a thumb along the crease. It had been folded perfectly. No wrinkles, no hesitation. My phone buzzed. One line from my mother. "Don't overthink the flyer. It's just for formality." Then another, "Evelyn's practically family. It looks better that way." It looks better. I sat with it for a while. Let the weight of the announcement rest on my knee. The corners curled just slightly, as if even the paper hesitated to stay flat. There was a time I might have called to clarify, to ask what it meant. Instead, I typed one question. Just 4 words. "What am I then?" The message was marked, read. No reply came. Later, Grandma Maggie called. Her voice was steady, but there was an inhale she didn't finish. "I thought you should see it from me, not from someone else." I thanked her, not for the flyer, but for saying nothing more. The announcement remained on my desk all week. I didn't shred it. I didn't display it. I just left it there, visible, quiet, unchanged. The serif letters never faded. The title, "Meet the Family," never corrected itself. There's a cruelty in omission. But there's another kind too, the kind that replaces you with someone easier to describe. I didn't respond again. I didn't ask for explanation. There's no use contesting a story once the ending's already printed. Some exits don't need a door closing. They just need no one to notice you're gone. I packed in silence. Not rushed, not frantic, just box by box, drawer by drawer. A sweater I never wore. A chipped mug with a faint lipstick mark I didn't recognize. A stack of unopened holiday cards, all from people I didn't send mine to. Eli lifted the last bin into the back seat without comment. Nora folded an old blanket and tucked it beside the toolkit like it was sacred. No one asked where I was going. That was the kindness. I left the key in the mailbox, the one with the dented lid and faded label. I didn't tape a note to it. I didn't double-check if the latch clicked. Some things aren't meant to be sealed. The only message I sent was to Grandma Maggie. "I'll call you next week." She replied with a thumbs-up emoji and nothing else. That was enough. There had been a call the night before. My father's number flashed on the screen, then disappeared before I could decide. A voicemail followed. Whatever this phase is, it's not flattering. I deleted it without listening to the end. The morning I changed my number, the woman at the counter offered a new SIM and asked if I wanted to transfer contacts. "No," I said. "I'd like to start clean." The pause in her typing was the only judgment I felt. Nora helped me carry a lamp to the porch. As we set it down, she glanced toward the road and said softly, "You don't owe anyone your forwarding address." I nodded. Not because I agreed, because she was already right. There was an old keychain in my jacket pocket, one I'd had since high school. Metal worn, smooth initials half faded. I hadn't touched it in years, but I knew exactly where it belonged. I left it in the mailbox on my last trip down the driveway. Not because it meant something, because it used to. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving, not because I wanted to make a statement, but because I'd already made too many that were never heard. People expect an explanation when you slam the door. They rarely notice when it stays slightly ajar and you simply stop walking back through. There's a particular kind of peace that comes when you stop asking to be included and realize you already left long before you packed. I didn't miss noise. I just didn't realize how long I'd been translating it into worth. The apartment smelled like varnish and dust. The windows were narrow but clean. A single hook by the front door held my keys like it had been waiting for them. Nothing matched floorboards, uneven cabinets too low, one light switch loose in its plate. It didn't bother me. I wasn't here to impress anyone. I unpacked slowly. 1 box per day, sometimes half. I placed the wilted basil on the windowsill, even though I doubted it would survive. It had leaned toward the kitchen light for weeks back in the old place. Here, it stood straighter. Still bruised, but upright. The white teacup with the chipped rim sat beside the kettle. I'd bought it at a thrift store on my second day. There were finer ones, but this one fit my palm without apology. I filled it every morning and sat at the table without checking my phone. No reminders, no countdowns, no family group thread reminding me about brunch I was never invited to. Grandma Maggie called on Thursdays. "Sleep okay?" "Better," I said once. That's not the same as well rested. She never pushed, just hummed when I paused too long, like silence wasn't something that needed to be filled. Eli sent a picture of their cat sprawled across the bed. The message read, "He's still waiting for you to come home." I saved it, but didn't answer right away. I bought groceries in small amounts, enough for one, never more than I could carry without help. The cashier at the corner store learned my name without asking why I didn't give a last one. I liked that. There was a nail in the wall above the sink. I hung nothing there, just wiped the tile and stood in the quiet, sometimes fingers resting on the counter, waiting for nothing in particular. One night, I opened a drawer and found a bent spoon left behind by a previous tenant. I didn't throw it away. I washed it, dried it, set it next to my own. It was too thin to be useful, but it stayed. I wasn't trying to build anything yet, just prove that I could exist in a space without needing to prove anything at all. No one walked in. No one asked what time dinner would be. No one sighed at the way I folded towels. And still, everything stayed in place. I wasn't missing from anything. I was finally somewhere that didn't need filling. Some invitations don't open doors. They only expose the ones you already walked away from. The call came mid-morning, the number familiar, in the way a rusted latch still fits the door. I let it ring 4 times before it cut off. A voicemail followed. "Lauren's parents are flying in. They expect the whole family present. You need to be there." No question. No pause. Just placement, like furniture that completes a photo. The messages came next. "It's just a dinner. You don't have to speak. They're very traditional. Please don't make this about you." I scrolled past them slowly as if the words might shift if I gave them time. They didn't. The final one read, "Family must present a united image." A phrase so polished it sounded rehearsed. Maybe it had been. There was a time I might have responded with compromise, half a yes, followed by terms I knew wouldn't be met. Instead, I turned my phone screen down and poured coffee into the chipped white mug, watching it fill to the uneven rim. By afternoon, another message blinked on my screen. "Logan's this time. I know things have been weird. I don't know what Mom and Dad said. But can you come? Just for me. Just for me." I sat with that for longer than I expected. Let it stretch. Let it weigh itself. I remembered the winter I came home early to surprise him 2 days before Christmas, arms full of books I thought he'd love. He barely looked up from his laptop. "They're more the Evelyn type," he said, handing them back. He had smiled then, gently, as if that would soften the return. I didn't respond to his message, not because I had nothing to say, but because I had already said it in every silence I'd carried through each year. No one listened. The phrase from the last message kept echoing. United image, not unity, not family. image. An image doesn't need depth, just angles. I wasn't being asked to return. I was being asked to complete the frame. There's a difference between being included and being positioned. I read the final line one more time. It would reflect badly if you didn't show. That was the clearest truth I'd ever been offered. Not my absence, just its consequences. It's strange how quiet can become a form of belonging. The kitchen chairs wobble slightly when I shift my weight, but I stopped correcting them. I found the set at a weekend market, 2 chairs, 1 table, all uneven, and all mine. The receipt curled in my coat pocket for days before I remembered to toss it. I built them myself. Not perfectly. Just enough. There's a sticker on the bottom of one leg now. Lucy put it there when she came over with her plastic jewelry box and a fistful of grape-scented bracelets. "You're the fun kind of aunt," she said, sliding a pink band around my wrist. Not the boring kind with weird soup. I still wear it sometimes. The band stretches a little more each week. I haven't told her it's fading. I don't plan to. Kelly Monroe waved me over from her porch last Friday. There were string lights across the backyard and a picture of something too sweet. "You live here, but you never stay long," she said, handing me a glass. "I'm learning how," I said. No one at that table asked where I came from. They asked what herbs I planted, if I preferred strong tea or light, whether I liked my bread toasted on one side or both. The kind of questions that don't ask for a resume. I made dinner for myself 3 nights in a row. No frozen meals, no schedules. Just what I felt like when I felt like it. I take walks near the edge of the woods. Not for steps, not to burn anything off. Just to move, and sometimes pause. I've started learning bird names from a neighbor's kid. Not to become an expert, just to be able to say that's a towhee instead of some bird. My phone doesn't buzz the same anymore. I turned off unknown callers. I don't scroll through old voicemails. There's a number I keep blocked, not out of anger, just to keep my coffee warm longer in the morning. When I bought the rug for the hallway, I didn't ask anyone if the pattern clashed. I rolled it out, sat down, and kept sitting. It didn't clash. It just didn't ask permission to belong. The house doesn't echo like it used to. I haven't bought curtains yet. I like the way the light comes in. No one tells me what time to arrive, and no one tells me who I am when I do. Sometimes closure isn't an answer. It's a decision not to ask again. The envelope had no return address. The handwriting was familiar, sharp corners, deliberate spacing. My father always pressed too hard when he wrote. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I left it on the counter for a full day, not out of hesitation, but to be certain I no longer needed confirmation of what I already knew. By the next morning, I set it in the firebowl behind the shed. The match caught easily. The edges curled before the flame reached the center. For a moment, it looked like the paper was breathing. He used to tell me, "You take everything too personally," whenever I stepped away from the table without finishing a sentence. He once said, "You're not the kind of daughter people brag about." I remember the way the words slid across his teeth like they'd been said before, maybe to someone else, maybe just practiced. The deed to the house arrived that week, my name typed in bold at the bottom. No co-signer, no joint interest, no notations in parentheses. I stared at the single line longer than I meant to. I didn't smile. I just exhaled. The email I drafted to the family list was 4 sentences long. Please remove me from future group messages. I will not attend future holiday gatherings. Mail sent to my previous address will be discarded. No response is necessary. I reread it 3 times. not to check for tone, only for typos. There had been a time when I thought removing myself would feel like abandonment, that it would look petty or worse, cowardly. But there is nothing petty about ending a conversation no one listens to. At the signing, the notary glanced at the form and said, "Just you, on this?" Then I nodded. She didn't comment. I changed my number the next day. When the carrier rep asked if I wanted to transfer call history or voicemails, I said no. I watched her delete them one by one, like sweeping crumbs into a quiet bin. I didn't tell anyone except Maggie. She didn't say much, just one sentence spoken low like a confirmation. Some houses don't deserve to be called home. The documents are in a folder on my desk now. I labeled it final, not as an ending, just a marker, like a fence built not to keep people out but to stop myself from wandering back in. I never realized how loud needing to prove yourself could be until I didn't hear it anymore. The folding table rocked slightly on the uneven grass, but no one mentioned it. A paper plate slid its caught by Eli's elbow before it tipped. Nora laughed low and unbothered, the kind of sound that didn't need an audience. Someone brought peach cobbler. Someone else brought nothing and was still welcomed. Lucy handed me a drawing she'd folded 4 times into quarters. A house with too many windows, a garden of lopsided tomatoes, and a figure labelled Aunt Lena. "That's you," she said. "But with magic hair." I thanked her without correcting the curls. The bracelet she gave me weeks ago still circled my wrist, stretched soft and pale at the edges. Kelly leaned in, sipping from a mason jar. "Do you have family back east?" I didn't flinch. I didn't measure the question for landmines. I looked toward the grill, Eli flipping corn with too much concentration. Nora's playlist hummed through a half-working speaker. Buddy, the neighbor's dog, snored at Kelly's feet. Lucy chased a paper napkin across the grass. "I have this," I said. No one asked what I meant. The curtain I'd sewn myself fluttered behind the kitchen window. The hem was uneven. I'd kept it that way. The tomato vines brushed the trellis as the light slipped lower. Not yet. Gold, not quite gone. I poured lemonade into mismatched glasses. Not because anyone asked. Just because the pitcher was light in my hands. No toast. No announcements. No one circled back to remind me where I belonged. There was no mention of Logan. No photos in need of balance. No chairs saved for someone who might arrive late and expect space made. I washed the dishes, slowly drying each one with the towel I'd bleached myself. I folded the chairs one at a time, tucked the cushions away. There was a rhythm in it, not habit, but choice. The drawing Lucy gave me lay on the counter. I didn't flatten the creases. I didn't hide it in a drawer. I stood at the edge of the garden bracelet, still on, hands loose at my sides. The air felt full but light. No one was waiting for me to become someone else, and for the first time, I wasn't either.